So it's been about 45 days since I received my DJI MAVIC Pro, and I have taken this thing to task. I live in New England, and I received it mid-December, so it's cold, but I don't care. I have to fly this thing. I want to get the footage. And I live near the ocean, so this thing ends up out over the ocean quite often. And I got to tell you, I have had very little problems with this MAVIC Pro. This thing goes out 2, 3 miles out to sea and always seems to find its way back. I don't really have too many issues with the cold or the salt air. I haven't had any problems with the camera pretty much, except for maybe learning how to zoom it, but I figured that out after a while. I've flown it by the rocks. I've flown it over the ocean. You can see right now I have it down inside a crevice next to an old military installation right off the coast of Boston. No problems. The follow me mode, everything works pretty much as it should. And I travel a lot. I get in my Jeep a lot and I hit the road. I take a backpack, a tent, and a sleeping bag, and whatever I have for cameras, which has usually always been an iPhone. Well, now that I have the Mavic, I am up in the air as often as humanly possible, even with the weather as cold as it's been. I mean, it's not as cold as it should be, but it's still pretty cold out, and it's too cold most of the time for a lithium battery, and yet the Mavic Pro works like a champ. I have no complaints. As long as you tap to focus and keep this thing in focus, it gives you amazing 4K footage. I mean, it's pretty stellar. So, in the last few weeks, I've been up to the White Mountains several times, and this time I took the Mavic Pro with me. This video is launching the Mavic off the top of a mountain that's already 4,200 feet up in the air, and as you can see, I'm basically at cloud level. It's first thing in the morning. There's absolutely no air traffic around. Using Flight Radar 24, I discovered that. There's no air traffic whatsoever. I do a quick spin around, get it up there, and the sun is coming up. So that's what I'm going to focus on. So here we go, right up through the clouds. Pretty slow ascent. But once I got up over the clouds, this was the view. This is the sun right over here, obviously, the shiny thing. And then that's me zooming in on it one time. I mean, the zoom leaves a little bit to be desired, but it's still amazing. These are all mountaintops coming through the clouds. That is phenomenal. Normally, you'd need something like a high altitude balloon or a helicopter. But now we've got drones. Absolutely amazing footage. The thing flew flawlessly. It always knew where it was located, and it always knew how to get back home. Now, this was the trip before last up to the mountains. I camp out right on the back of my Jeep. So all you got to do is pay for gas. It's not all that bad. That's me and Mrs. RFB. I'm probably complaining about something. And there's the Jeep. And there's my coffee. And this is one quick flyover before we head down the mountain. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That's the Kangamangas Highway in the White Mountains in New Hampshire. Now this is at the base of Mount Washington. Again, I'm about 3,500 feet in the air already, and I'm going to try to follow the train track right up Mount Washington. Now they've got a train that's specially designed to go right up this track. So I figured, hey, the train's out of service. Might as well try it with the drone. And it seemed to be working pretty well. I used my sleeping bag pad as a launch pad because there was already a foot of snow up there. We had to put it in four-wheel drive load just to make it up the mountain, but we made it. Now, the Mavic hadn't given me any battery warnings as of yet, but it was 11 degrees Fahrenheit, and we were probably at, right now I would guess the Mavic is probably 4,000 feet above sea level. It was following the train track no problem, and then I got the battery too cold error, and the Mavic turned itself around, went to 350 feet, and came back. But what a view. I mean, look at that picture quality. It's amazing. It's amazing from such a tiny little camera. But it did turn around. It found its way right back, and it landed right on the mat. It landed right on the sleeping pad, which just blew me away. Here it comes. It's figuring things out. It makes a couple of adjustments. And after the battery's too cold error, it went to return to home or something to that effect. You can see it's snowing very briskly. There's the mattress pad. It makes its way over. And bingo. It landed right on it. I think maybe 1 foot ended up in the snow. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. And this was on the Saco River, which is still in New Hampshire, but this runs right into Maine. I thought the picture quality would be terrible because it was so sunny and white outside, but it wasn't. It came out really well. I had to tap to focus a couple of times, but it worked out perfect. Now, this was a pullover spot right at the base of the mountain. We're almost out of the mountains, and I think to myself, hey, I'll launch this one more time, go up over the tree line, and try to follow the river. But having it out of my line of sight, I mean, I could see it somewhat, but the trees were in the way. Trying to follow the river was a little bit too technical for me, and I kept forgetting to tap to focus. But again, it made its way back, and that's when I decided to put it in sport mode in the parking lot. And that's when it ended up in a tree. And I lost a few propellers. I've lost a lot of propellers on this, but the Mavic just keeps on going. I'll speed it up for you so you can enjoy the crash. You can see me speeding around and doing 360s. I mean, that's moving. It is moving. And then it comes back. Just about to pack it up and put it in the car. I just had to do this one more time, and then bingo. Right? There you go. Boop, 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 boop. So I popped a few more propellers on because I stock up on props, and I got this footage before I took off. And it was pretty cold out, but it was very sunny, and it was very bright, and it still got great footage. I even managed to catch the shadow right there in the snow, which was kind of cool. No issues. The one time I had a battery too cold issue was when it was 11 degrees out and we were at almost 4,000 feet, or 4,000 feet and climbing is the only time I had an issue. But other than that, I mean, look at the footage this thing affords you. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. From such a small camera. Absolutely staggering. The picture quality literally rivals my Nikon P900, which is a really nice camera. At any rate, I can't wait to see the Mavic 2.0, and I'm going to land it right there on that little pad. Yep, that's me, Mr. Happy. At any rate, please like, share, subscribe. I am out.